As I was scrolling through Humble Bundle, I happened upon the Content Creators Image and Video Tools bundle. Upon further inspection, for $20 you would receive 12 items valued at $465. The Movavi suite of content creation tools, with add-ons for said software. This piqued my curiosity when I saw it and made me wonder, can a $20 content creation bundle go toe-to-toe with tried and true big-name software tools like Adobe Creative Cloud? So I purchased the bundle and went to work to find out. The main draw of this bundle, in my opinion, lies in Movavi Video Editor Plus, Movavi Photo Editor, and Movavi Gecata. Gecata? I don't know. The bundle also includes a slideshow maker as well as a video converter, but I'm going to focus on these three as the video converter and slideshow makers are kind of relatively straightforward and, do what they do. So, first up we're going to look at Movavi Gecata, which is a video recording software allowing you to record your screen with options for recording gameplay or just your desktop. Now, purchasing this on its own from Movavi would cost you $34.95. Although you would have the option to try a free demo with the caveat being it will have a watermark on it in the bottom right hand corner. Opening it up, it's a relatively simple application. It's only a small window, but that's okay. We don't need it to do anything fancy, just record wherever we need it to. There's a record button, a pause button, and a screenshot button, with all three having dedicated shortcut buttons labeled underneath, which is a nice plus. Next to that, we have a toggle button that swaps your recording between your desktop and gameplay. Fairly simple. Also included is a widget that will tell you how large your current recording is, as well as how much space is left on the drive you have your footage stored on. Located on the edge are two buttons. One that opens the video manager where you can see recent recordings / screenshots, and a button that will opens your output. The last big feature of this recording software is obviously the settings, of which there's a fair amount. Nothing too egregious, but it's not bare bones, I suppose. So after using the software for a bit, what are my thoughts on it? Well, it does its job as a video recorder. It records what you want, and has a relatively simple UI that gets straight to the point and tells you what's what. I like that it's small and not obtrusive as well. It doesn't need to have a whole window dedicated to it, which if you have a handful of apps open for recording could help with decluttering screen space. However, the trade-off for this simple software is kind of in the description. It's simple. While it does offer probably a little more in the settings department compared to other basic screen recording software, it's lacking if you're really wanting to get specific into your recording settings. This basically just captures your screen, the audio, and a webcam if you use one. While this is more in depth compared to the Windows game bar, which is also conveniently built into Windows by hitting Windows and G, it pales in comparison to OBS. OBS is way more in depth, with options to capture multiple sources of video and audio at once, as well as options for each individual track as well. It also offers the ability to stream to Twitch, which Gecata does not. However, OBS can sometimes be very complex and require plugins to accomplish certain recording possibilities. Overall, if you're looking for a simple recording software, Gecata fills that void, but maybe not for $43. Now let's move on to what I think is the main draw of this bundle, the video editor. This is what initially intrigued me when I saw it. A video editor for $20 when other companies charge this much or more monthly sounded too good to be true. As an editor, I wanted to see what the software was really capable of. Now, if you didn't get this video editor in the bundle, it would normally be $74.95, which, while not cheap, isn't too bad for a one-time fee for a video editor. Like Gecata, this also has a free trial, which will again add a watermark to the video. So let's take a look at it. Opening the app up, the main look of it can be compared as a mix of Adobe Premiere Pro and Avid Media Composer. It's a simple but stylistic and sleek looking video editor, but looks aren't everything. We have the source monitor as well as the output monitor. However, the source monitor is really just more of a sort of effects / editor tool window. This is basically where you see your input bin as well as access your tabs. Input, filters, transitions, titles, stickers, and more tools. What's nice is that this software comes with a lot of preloaded transitions, stickers, tiles, graphics, and more. If you get this in the Humble Bundle, it also comes with extra effects packs that deliver you even more content in the form of filters, graphics, and transitions. I assume that you could also buy these separately if you didn't happen to get them in the bundle. At the bottom of the application is your sequence and timeline. This is where your finished video lives, where all your audio tracks, video tracks, transitions, filters, etc. come together to form your completed video. So that we have an overview of what the software looks like. How does it work? So, I like that this software didn't leave gaps when you deleted a segment of it, which would be the equivalent of a ripple delete in Premiere. This made it so that you couldn't accidentally leave a millisecond of black screen by accident if you trimmed the top or tail of a clip. I also was shocked at the quality of the included assets within the basic software. I expected this to be a relatively bare bones editing app, so when I saw several different categories of filters, transitions, titles, and graphics, I was happily surprised. I also liked that they included thumbnails to show what each different filter or transition did. This made it easier to choose what you wanted without having to drag and drop to test each one before making a decision. These are something that really elevated the software in my eyes, as this is a level that really allows you to change and morph your content to your liking. The included assets would really allow you to flex your brain and use them in creative ways. And creativity is one of the best parts of content creation, and this software embraces that, providing the tools to, in my opinion, create great content. I also thought that the timeline worked well to display your selected content and show your timeline in a relatively neat manner. When you add a title as well, it includes a handy little line to show the precise spot on the video track where it starts. However, while I applaud the app for its creative abilities, it is not without faults. Probably the first thing I noticed when I dragged my content in was that you couldn't import a video, then trim it down in the source monitor before adding it to your timeline. You had to put the whole video on your timeline before cutting it down. In the case of cutting down longer form content, this could be tedious, especially given my second major qualm. You had to click on the clip to edit it, and there were no quick keyboard shortcuts. For example, in Premiere Pro, when I want to use the razor tool to add a cut, I can hit C, and it quickly changes to the razor tool. This feature is not present here, and while there is a shortcut to quick cut, which is Control B, you have to have the specific video clip selected, so you have to click on it first. This application also seemed to be a bit laggy, which I quickly attributed to the default timeline view, which would show keyframes of the video during its whole duration. So maybe it would show a keyframe for every 10 seconds. When making an edit, I noticed it tended to go back through and reload them. Turning off the Show Film Strip Preview option under Playback helped this, but it feels unnecessary to be a default in the first place, although that might just be my personal opinion. While I applaud the selection of transitions and filters, they seem to be more video focused than audio. There were very few options to customize your audio as opposed to video, which one could argue is because it's a video editor, not an audio editor. However, audio can be just as important, if not more, than the visual content, and it felt like the lack of options here hurt it. There was also a lack of audio transitions. I had to manually add my own transitions by adding keyframes to the audio track and moving them up or down. The very last major problem I had with the software is the titles and text. While it certainly had a variety of styles to choose from, I felt like the ability to customize and change them was lacking. Basically, the only thing you could do was change the font, color, size, and add an outline, a shadow, or a background. There was no option for spacing, and I found myself in trouble when using one style of title as it left huge gaps in between lines, meaning I had to add a whole other text box to add a second line with decent spacing. Although I do want to point out that this is dependent on the kind of text that you're using. It didn't seem to be present when I used a subtitle options text, but more present in titles. So what are my overall thoughts on the software? Honestly, I felt like I went in expecting to hate it, but after using it for a while, I actually found myself thinking, if I had to, I could probably use this instead of Premiere Pro. Don't get me wrong, I still prefer Premiere Pro, but for $20, I almost feel like this is a steal, especially compared to other video editing software with their astronomical prices. Almost all other video editors are incredibly pricey. Adobe Creative Cloud has many different price points and plan options, but the cheapest you can get it is for $20 a month if you're a student. If you're not a student, it jumps up to a minimum of $55 a month. Final Cut Pro has an expensive buy-in of $300, although it is a one-time purchase. DaVinci Resolve has a free version, but also an upgraded $295 version as well. Then there's Avid Media Composer, which is $23.99 a month, or a one-time purchase of $295 for students, or $1,999 for non-students. Basically $2,000. I don't know why they don't just add the 99 cents on there. Now these all have their pros and cons, but for the price point of $20, I would say that Movavi Video Editor Plus provides a strong content creation platform. Even at $75, I don't think it's a horrible deal. Plus the free demo version provides a chance to try before you buy, which is nice. The last piece of software included in the bundle I'm going to talk about is Movavi Photo Editor. This normally costs $50 on the Movavi website. While not as expensive as the video editor, this one also made me curious, because a cheap version of Photoshop just sounds too good to be true. So what's it look like? Opening the app, it has a very nice, sleek look like the other two pieces of software I looked at. The UI is clean and simple, feels user-friendly, and easy to navigate. There is a canvas in the middle that will hold your piece that you are editing, and there are a variety of tools up top on the toolbar. On the right side, there's a sort of secondary toolbar options menu that will change depending on what tool you are using. And up in the right-hand corner is one of my favorite features of the app, options to see the new and old side by side. So, I mean, it looks good, but how does it function? Well, it had some features that I really enjoyed, like the side-by-side comparison button I spoke about. This was a neat idea that allowed you to see your edited and unedited pictures side by side, which could help you see how your edit compares to the original. Another thing I really liked when I used it was the lasso tool, when I used the background change tool. You can see on screen as I try to recreate an edit of Catgirl Stalin I had previously created in Photoshop for a previous video, links up top. While this wasn't really present while using other tools, this version of it blew me away. It worked like the magnetic selection tool in Photoshop, automatically attaching itself to the shape you were were going around. However, when you were done, you could easily drag it back to the beginning point and connect, meaning that you didn't have to perfectly connect them to each other by a click, which sometimes happens to me in Photoshop. And then it creates like kind of a little jagged outline or an outlier, and you have to go back and fix it. You were also able to manipulate every point of articulation laid down, meaning you could really get every piece of it covered by shaping it however you wanted. It also had a lot of good color and photo adjustment options. If you were just to use this for straight normal photo editing, I think that you could find a good amount of tools to get a picture just how you wanted. It also had a cool feature that allowed you to restore old pictures using AI, which worked pretty well, although it did crash when I tried to use it. But I mean, it still worked. I think it was just because I tried to colorize it immediately after hitting restore. But onto the bad. Biggest thing for me is that there was no evident layer function, which felt strange to me as multiple layers allows for so much more customization and manipulation for images. Like here in this video, I added the cat ears, then tried to erase the background behind them, which ended up deleting the picture below as well. I ended up having to take it into Photoshop first to delete the background, then bring it back. I also just felt like it was lacking in quality of life features. Like you can't move things around. You can resize your image, but if you insert an image, you can't move it after the initial spot selection, which seems really weird to me. That's just a basic function, is to move things around on your canvas. The selection tools also tended to not have super great object tracking if they were shape conforming, and the software also seemed to run a little slower than I would have wanted it to, especially since just doing something simple like changing the hue a little bit isn't a particularly hard process, but it would cause the program to bog down a little bit. Overall, I think that this tool is a mixed bag. I personally went into this software under the assumption it was a competitor to Photoshop, but I don't think that's the case. If I paid $50 for this under the impression it was a Photoshop competitor, I would be pissed. It's lacking the functionality and features to even stand up to Photoshop. But if I were to have purchased this under the guise of having to edit photos, I don't think I would have been too upset. If you're looking for a Photoshop alternative, this is not it. However, I think that there are also better alternatives you can find online compared to this if you're looking for a photo editor. Some websites like Pixlr are good alternatives for photo editors with just as many features, as well as being more of a mini pseudo Photoshop alternative than this. Plus, they're free. Also, GIMP, which is another free software that you can use, which is used by many people as a replacement for Photoshop. So, the Content Creators Bundle, $20 for a purported $456 worth of content. Movavi Gecata, Video Editor Plus, Photo Editor, Slideshow Maker, and Video Converter Premium, plus additional content packs for Video Editor and Slideshow Maker. I think that out of this, I would personally only pay full price for Video Editor as it fits my purposes, and I felt like I could see myself using it if needed. The Photo Editor was interesting, but nowhere near what I thought as it would be a competitor to Photoshop. Gecata, I could maybe see myself buying it if I got it on sale, but things like OBS do the same job with more functionality for free. I think if you can get this deal for $20 and you're just starting out with content creation, it's a really good deal. It allows you to do pretty much every aspect of a video on a shoestring budget, but relatively decent and helpful software, especially since things like video editors can end up being so expensive. To snag a relatively capable program like this for $20 is a steal. And I'm not here knocking Movavi and their content creation suite. I think that it certainly has an audience and it's not bad software. I mean, if this was your only option that you could find for $20, I think it would work. It's not the best solution, but you know, you don't have to break a bank for this, and I think you could make good content using this software. I won't say it's the best, as there are alternatives I think work better. However, there are free trials for all the software, and I would encourage you to try it yourself first if you are thinking of purchasing it, as this might not be for everyone. Thanks for watching this video. To play it out, I'm using the Slideshow Maker to use a slideshow of some of my thumbnails I've made. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, and share this video, and thanks for watching.